Today, hopefully, you are going to write 2 or 3 really good descriptive paragraphs about your dragon. So I want you to help me imagine what your dragon looks like using all of that figurative and descriptive language that we've been working on the last few days. I'm going to read and talk you through 2 really good examples, and then I'm going to show you some good examples from last year's children as well. Here's example 1. The dragon squatted on enormous haunches. Without warning, scorching torrents of flame exploded downward, outward, upward, filling the air with choking black smoke. Nothing was visible except the mesmerizing source of this terrifying inferno. It was the most imposing monster ever seen by man, a towering, erupting volcano. Its hideous mouth gaped open. Jets of flame poured forth to reveal rows of razor-sharp, flesh-tearing incisors set deep in crimson jaws. It reared up on its hind legs. Savage claws, sharp as daggers, sliced the fetid air. The venomous light that burned in its vengeful eyes was enough to turn a man to stone. As the beast fell forward, the earth trembled. Folds of skin encasing its steely core hung loose like a coat of impenetrable armor. So let's have a look. So the dragon squatted on enormous haunches. So instead of saying sitting, I've used a synonym, squatted, and haunches are like your upper leg, so it has really big muscly upper legs. I have my sentence starter, without warning, comma. Don't forget those commas. Scorching torrents of flame exploded downwards. So torrents of flame. There was so much coming down. It was like a waterfall. Choking black smoke. So I stretched my sentence, filling the air with choking black smoke. The mesmerizing source of this terrifying inferno. Inferno is another word for a fire. It was the most imposing monster, so I'm calling the dragon a monster. And then I used a metaphor saying it was a towering, erupting volcano. So I'm using it so it's towering and a volcano, so it's really big, like an erupting volcano, so there's fire and smoke. I like this one as well, where it says rows of razor-sharp, flesh-tearing incisors. So incisors are a type of teeth, and I said they're razor sharp. Okay, so again, vivid description there. The venomous light that burned in its vengeful eyes, so it's a very angry dragon. Okay, and I've used personification here. As the beast fell forward, the earth trembled. Now, the earth can't tremble, it can't shake and tremble because it's not a person, but I've used personification. And then instead of talking about scales and skin, I've used the word armor. So again, trying to make it a little bit more vivid. So his skin is so strong, it's like some armor. Example 2. A different dragon. The dragon stirred. It raised its head through the leaf mould. It opened first one, then the other large, lazy, bloodshot eye. Spring was bringing to the land light winds and soft rains. The dragon had slept out the winter in the hole which it had carefully chosen 100 days ago. Its mouth, which had not opened to fresh air all that time, stank with the accumulated odour of 100 days and nights. On this day before it had laid down, it had consumed its last meal. This had consisted of 2 lambs which had strayed too far from their mother, and then the mother. Now the dragon was hungry. Overwhelmingly and immediately it needed the taste of new meat. So let's have a little look. So I've used a mixture of long and short sentences. So the dragon stirred. It raised its head through the leaf mould. It opened first one, then the other large, lazy, bloodshot eye. So that's alliteration there, large, lazy. Okay. Then I've used a relative clause here. Its mouth, which had not opened to fresh air in all that time, stank with the accumulated odour of 100 days and nights. It's a relative clause because it starts with the word which, a relative pronoun. Okay, I then went on to talk about what it had eaten before it fell asleep, but here I used two adverbials, put them together. Overwhelmingly and immediately it needed the taste of new meat. So there's another example of a good description. Here's some examples of last year's work. So some examples of similes you might want to use, or you might want to magpie. So savage claws as sharp as daggers. Okay, this one is magpied from the last example I just showed you. Metaphors again from the examples as well. Terrifying inferno, a towering erupting volcano. Alliteration, flaming fire poured forth. Rows of razor sharp teeth, large lazy bloodshot eyes. These are some good vocabulary, vivid adjectives, powerful verbs, so you can have a look at those there. More sentences that I picked out of last year's work. So crooked talons that thrash and tear, eyes that smoulder with a burning menace. So one child used this to describe the tail. It was long and it was like it had a hook on the end in order to defend itself. Shimmering scales with a metallic luster, so like a metallic shine. Rough pentagonal scales that protect like armor. So they've given an example of the shape of the scale, so it's a pentagon. Scales that resemble feather. I borrowed that from the white dragon from yesterday. Gold glowing eyes. So a child came up with their own alliteration there, gold and glowing. So now, here we go today. You are going to write your imaginative and inspiring paragraphs. I need lots of descriptive sentences, lots of adjectives, various sentence length, different clause types. Okay, so try your best. It only has to be 2 or 3 paragraphs long, like what I did on the example pages. And if you finish, maybe to challenge yourself, you could try and identify the figurative language you've used in your margin. So you could say, oh, I've used a simile, I've used a metaphor, I've used personification here, I've used alliteration here, if you really want to give yourself a challenge.